Hello class, how are you all doing? I hope you are doing well, you are staying safe. Okay, this your Auntie Mabel is your creative arts teacher. Please, I hope you have done my silhouette practical work that I gave you. I hope you have done that poster, your nose mask and your hand sanitizer. Please do it in your sketch pads. If not done it, please do it for me, okay? Okay, so we are going to our next lesson. This is our third week, and we are going to a lesson called terrorism. I think you've all heard terrorism before. We are going to look at what terrorism is. We are going to look at the causes and the effects of terrorism. Okay, so let's begin our lesson. Okay class, so let's do a little imagination thinking here. I want you to imagine yourself going to the mall with your parents, specifically ShopRite, to go and do some shopping and have some fun. Imagine you are in the shop shopping and then you hear that there are some people outside the mall or at the car park with guns and bombs on them, and they are coming to blast the mall. How would you feel? I'm sure you'd be very terrified. Okay? And imagine they come in and troop in and start killing people in the shop and then just bombing the places to destroy the whole place. That would be very terrifying. Okay, so this is a short introduction to what we are going to talk about. Terrorism. It destroys things, it kills people, and it's a very, very bad thing that everybody should stay away from. So let's go and delve deeper into terrorism. Okay, so let's look at the definition of terrorism. Terrorism is the unlawful use of force or violence against individuals or property to intimidate or frighten governments or societies, often to achieve political, religious, or ideological objectives. Okay, this is very self-explanatory. They use force and impose their own will on you. Okay, that is what terrorism is. What you don't want is what they want to do for you, so that what they want at the end of the day would be achieved. We have types of terrorism. The first type is national terrorist group. These are terrorists whose activities are directed at elements of government without foreign involvement. An example is Boko Haram, kidnapping the 276 Chibok schoolgirls. Okay, so when we talk of national terrorism, it deals with terrorism that only takes place within a particular country and not other countries, just within a country. The Boko Haram people, they are based in Nigeria, and this is what they were terrorizing Nigeria by kidnapping 276 schoolgirls away, which caused a lot of panic to their parents and a lot of fear, okay, because nobody knew what they were going to do with these little girls. They were also bombing towns and destroying people's properties, cars, and stuff. So that's an example of national terrorist groups. Then we go to the second type, which is the international terrorist groups. These are terrorists whose activities are foreign-based and directed by countries or groups outside the country. The country in this term means the victim country. Okay? A typical example is the September 11th World Trade Center crash. This happened in the USA. I think by that time, most of you were kids. But if you ask your parents about the September 11th World Trade Center crash, I'm sure they will narrate it very nicely to you. This happened during a time where two planes were hijacked and were directed to hit the World Trade Center towers, which collapsed totally, killing everybody in it, destroying the building totally. This is a typical example of international terrorist groups. Okay, so we are going to look at some of the causes of terrorism. There are a lot of causes, there are a lot of reasons why people act in a terrified manner or cause terrorist attacks. One of such cause is social and political injustice. A typical example is when the Irish Republican Army, the IRA, bombed English targets in 1980 to make a point that their land was colonized by British, whom they thought were higher than them. example of social political injustice. These people went to bomb the English people because they had pain in their heart that some time ago these people colonized them. And because they colonized them, they think they still have power over them. And because due to this, they formed the IRA and went to blast some of these English targets by blasting, killing people who are English, okay, just to satisfy their selfish interests. Our second reason is religion. Many terrorists get wrong understanding about religion in some countries because they think it plays a significant role in dividing them. A typical example is the Boko Haram. They went to abduct these girls because they thought, why should a nation that is dominant of Muslims have Christians walking around? So they took most of these girls and changed them to become Muslims. Whether you like it or yes, you have to become a Muslim. And that is purely religion based. Okay, so we go to our third point. Our third point is illiteracy. Uneducated people are easy to be persuaded to commit crime because of their low ability of thinking. Imagine an illiterate being given a gun to go and shoot somebody or destroy a house. He doesn't know the reason why. He doesn't know when he kills people, they will be sad, or it will destroy properties and cause government millions to replace them. He says, I've been given a gun, I've been told this, so I'll go and do it, just because he's an illiterate. So these are all causes of terrorism. Then our last point is the belief that violence will be more effective. Most terrorists believe that violence means justify the end. They will rather choose violence after a long deliberation. For instance, when such people have put in a petition before the government, and the government sees that whatever case they are bringing up or on board is useless and meaningless and it will not help in any way. Since they don't get any positive response from the government, they choose to use violence to get what they want. In that case, causing terrorist attacks and causing fear and panic to many. Okay, so we are going to learn about the effects of terrorism. Certainly, when there is a terrorist attack, there is a lot of effect, there is a lot of things that happen and that thing changes within the country or within the surroundings where it happened. The first effect is economic impact. When you hear of economic, you think about money. Every terrorism event always kills people, destroys private and public properties which government must spend large sums of money to repair. A typical example is the World Trade Center. You can see it, the building came down totally because of the blast that happened in the building. The plane crashed into one building and another plane came to crash into that building. And because of the heat and the burn, the building came down. And this will surely cause the government a lot to rebuild. So that's a typical example of an economic impact. It destroys properties and therefore the government must spend enough money to rebuild and repair those damages. Then we go to our second impact. That is societal impact. Terrorist attacks create an atmosphere of suspicion, fear and panic everywhere due to the murder, torture, kidnapping and extortion involved. Okay? All these things, all these terrorist attacks makes you fear even your fellow person who is by you. For instance, the example I gave about you going to the mall with your parents and people coming there with guns to come and destroy the place. After this incident, you see that you will be afraid to go back to the mall because you will be scared that something like this will happen again. Okay, so these are some of the impacts of terrorism. And the truth is, terrorist attacks are very, very bad. They are not good and they don't help in any way. So these are also examples of the terrorist attack. This is the September 11th World Trade Center crash. This is an image of what's happening there. This whole building you are seeing came down and was totally destroyed. And this is also Boko Haram. You can see them there, grouped down there. They dress like they are military people. This is an example of a town that they burnt and destroyed cars and properties and people's houses. Okay, so these are some of the examples of terrorist attacks, which are very bad, and nobody should ever even think of doing such a thing. Okay, class, so I hope you've learned a lot about terrorism. You've learned the causes and the effects, and you've seen some images that frighten all of us a lot. What I want you to have at the back of your mind is terrorism is a very bad thing and should not be encouraged anyway. Take good care of yourself. See you next week and stay safe. Bye-bye.